Hello, beautiful people. Welcome and welcome back to Thrive Out Loud. Kinatanula, thank you so much for joining in today. It's always such a pleasure sitting here, sharing a bit of me with you. First things first, house rules in here. Remember, we like, we comment, we share, we subscribe, we click on the bell notification, and we tell a friend to tell another friend to bring on some popcorn because why not? Let's get into the business of today. So, I was laid off. Yeah, no, I know. There's nothing cute about that. In fact, you might be wondering,
but why would she just put on makeup to sit in front of a camera to tell us that she got fired? It literally takes 2 seconds to say that. Why watching the rest of the video?
This is why. I'd like to take you on a bit of a journey. It dates back to about 5 years ago. This dates back all the way back to 2017. As I had mentioned that I was doing my internship in a company in Randburg. The company unfortunately ran into some financial problems and was forced to now start considering retrenchment. So I was the last born in there, and they had eventually communicated that the criteria that we using to retrench was the last in, first out, which meant this girl here would be the first one to be shown the door. So there I was, I started applying, trying to get a hold of everyone who could help me, and eventually I landed a job in a company in Rosebank. My journey with them started beginning of September 2017, and it didn't take very long for me to start questioning my life choices. It didn't take really long for me to start questioning whether I was in the right place, whether I was in the right spot, and whether this was the job for me. But because bills need to be paid, and a black child simply doesn't have options, a black child is not presented with enough options on what to do with their lives, I was like, you know what, let me just stick it through. I found people that had been at that company for 10 years, for 20 years, for so long, and I was like, okay, so here I am, it's still my first month, and I can already feel that, you know what, there are loads of red flags in this place. But anyway, black child bills need to be paid. There's black tax you need to participate in, so the show must go on. The first month I was there, our salaries were late. This was still September. First month, salaries are late, and I'm a September baby, okay? I'm not about to ignore that it's my birthday. But anyway, you don't really have much of a choice if things are a bit tricky in that department. And remember, I was still with that brother who is just tricky and Jay on his own. So things were tricky with a capital T. So the months went on. Some months would be better than others. On some months we'd be paid on time. On some months we wouldn't get paid on time. There were months that got as bad as us going for 4 or 5 months without getting paid and without communication as to what would be happening, as to what the plan was, how the situation can be mitigated, how things can be made better. We're just left in limbo, still expected to come to work. And because a black child is not taught how to ask questions, fight for their rights, and stand up for what they believe in, no one said anything. Life continued as normal. Eventually, when we do get paid, you get paid this huge lump sum, and you're happy because you feel like, oh my goodness, now I've got a chunk of money. But you've forgotten that throughout that period of time when you were not getting paid, there were debit orders that were going off and going unpaid. And for every single debit order that kind of bounces on your account, you now face, it was 150 last I checked, like 150 penalty fee for unpaid debits. And now you become unreliable to creditors. You become unreliable to wherever it is that you want to apply for credit of any sort. I know sometimes we preach about how don't use credit, but sometimes there are things you can't just walk into a shop and swipe, so you need to prove that you are reliable. You need to prove that you know how to use money. You need to prove that you know how to pay, and you need to prove that you can be reliable, like you can be trusted with someone else's item of value, such as a car, or with their money if you're applying for cold hard cash as a loan, right? But now we are in this weird situation where, first of all, we don't even know when we're getting paid, and you don't know what to say, when you're applying for whatever you're applying for. I remember 2017 coincided with when I wanted to get my first car, because I wanted to start furthering my studies the coming year, and I knew the campus I wanted to further my studies at But this would now be a challenge because the place was 90 kilometers from where I was, and there's no way I could make it on time for classes using public transport. So now that was a tricky situation, right? But now, what do you do? So try whatever you can, and it's unfortunate that in situations where you are financially vulnerable, that's where you make poor financial decisions. I got a car, it had a balloon payment, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and I figured, oh no, they're doing me a favor, because here I can still get a car, I'll still manage to pay it off. It's no biggie, I'll just save up for the balloon and pay at the very end. But those are things that you need to prepare yourself for financially. It's not a decision you just jump into just because it's presented to you. It's not an option you just take because it's on the table. But when you don't really have options, that's what you do. So okay, life went on, got my car, got approved, it's fine. Then life continued. Life continues as normal, and we would still get the bad months, we'd still get some good months. But one thing I know, because I started working there in 2017, one thing I knew for sure, there was no such thing as a 13th check or like a bonus. And most December holidays, like most of the time when we would go to like our festive break, it would coincide with the really dry months. Imagine having a festive break where you haven't been paid for 2 months, you don't get paid that same December, you probably get your salary somewhere around February, and this happened more than 3 times, like as far back as I can recall. So it wasn't a rosy situation. But what then do you do when you're busy applying, you're not being called back, you're not even getting responses to your applications, you're not getting considered, you don't see a way out of your situation? How then do you go about it? So I thought to myself, it's a very tricky situation, but you wait it out, you wave it out. If people could, withstand all of this for like 15 years, 10 years, 20 years, who are you? You've only been there for a couple of months. So I decided, let me remain mum.
Ask no questions, hear no lies.
And there I was. But a mistake I made was not standing up for my rights, not even trying to find out if I had any rights in a situation like this. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want to be known as that employee or jajara who will just complain at every single inconvenience. So I said nothing. 2017 went past, 2018 went past, 2018 and 19, those are the 2 years when I was now furthering, doing my BTech in structural engineering. And those were tough times, because the days I would need to take off work to go attend, my money would be debited. Fine, I understand that part. But if my salary is going to be delayed for 2-3 months, and by the time it comes, like, I'm already in the red, I have faced so many penalties, there is nothing left to salvage, then and the money has lost weight, and I just had to, wait that one out as well, because I knew I wanted to complete my studies in that 2 years. I didn't have any more time to waste on that, because life goes on. I didn't want to be this person where I now have to face the not that there's anything wrong with it, but I personally didn't want a situation where I would have to further my studies while I'm pregnant, because I want to focus on one problem at a time. Like, can I just focus one at a time, please? One, ne? So life goes on, and end of 2019, then I got pregnant, right? And my baby was born in June 2020. And in as much as it's a very happy time, it's a very, very joyous time, we've been blessed, and I also need to point out that, the group of friends that I have, I don't know what I did to deserve them, but they've just been so amazing. So throughout the time I was pregnant, I was receiving deliveries almost every day at work. And by the time I went on maternity leave, I basically had everything I needed for the baby, from the crib to the car seat to the, you name it, like every single thing. I just needed now to get hair, clothes, nappies, and just to prepare myself for D-Day. But I feel like the beautiful soul sisters, I call them soul sisters, that I've managed to collect over the years, because they are my treasures. They've just been amazing, because come to think of it, I really wouldn't know where to start if I had to literally do it all on my own, like get all the baby gear, everything. I don't know. So then pregnancy went on, and it also coincided with a very dry period. I remember it was early 2020, just before COVID, and here is a brand new season. And of course, first baby, you're trying to go all out, you're trying to bona, you're just trying to be that mom, So here I was consulting with my gynae and the GP at the time, and it was going well, having scans every month and whatnot. But then it got to a point where I had to cut back on a couple of things because it didn't make any financial sense. Yes, my partner and I were both employed, but it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to plan for something you didn't know what would be happening around that time. For instance, typical hospital birth, a typical private hospital birth without any extras, placed us somewhere at around 40,000 rands, and that is before you counter for each specific specialist that might be needed on the day. You don't know what complications you might face on the day. You don't know how many additional days you might need to be in hospital. You never know these things, right? So here I was, So we had to make the decision to now opt for a public hospital, and I have heard the horror stories, and this made me nervous. It made me anxious. I didn't know what I was walking into, but I didn't have any other option. I've already started my pregnancy journey with like a specific doctor. Now having to move from that special treatment, obviously, to now the public healthcare system, it was a bit of a, it wasn't nice at first, but you become accustomed to it. And once you let go of, I'll say, expectations, once you let go of your expectations or how you thought this might go, or your fears, what you think might go wrong or what you think might not go right, then you realize these people are actually not so bad. Or at least my prayer was that I would fall into hands that are warm. I'd fall into like proper health care that would be articulate care that would make me feel like I'm looked after, like I'm cared for, like a motherly love. That's what I prayed for. I prayed for, I've heard all the horror stories, but I prayed that I wouldn't in my lifetime come across like that traumatic experience, especially when it comes to giving birth, right? So the months went on, and June 2020, we're now literally in the belly of COVID. It was still level 5, I think, and D-Day came, D-Day went. If you want to know about my pregnancy journey as well as my labor and delivery story, I just don't want to make it part of this specific video because it'll be too long, but let me know if you're interested in that. So D-Day came, D-Day went, and now I'm officially on maternity leave. So the company I was working for doesn't pay for your maternity leave at all. I know there are some companies that say no, they'll pay 50% of your salary for 4 months and then you come back and then things are back to normal. Some will pay as much as 70%. Some pay your entire maternity leave. You'll just be working from home or something like that. But I think that depends on your specific employer. But my specific employer, my former employer, they don't pay for maternity leave. You basically have to go the whole UIF route and fill out the claim forms and submit everything and do the whole shebang, the whole run around, follow-ups and whatnot. And yeah, that was it. So I think I only got my payout when my baby was about 3 months old. It was around September, and the whole thing took so long because there was an error with a form that my employer had filled out. So he had filled out like a date that differed from mine, and that obviously, you know these things, you know how the government is. And instead of someone calling you to say no, your dates are wrong, what, no, you have to go there and find out what the problem actually is, right? So yes, eventually then I got my payout, and 2 months later I was back at work. I went back to work, I think the 1st of November. This was now 2020, right? And upon my return to work, the way we ignore red flags is a red flag on its own. I went back to the environment, and from the onset I was dealt with a heavy blow of bullying, and no one did anything about it. I was bullied by the boss's sister, and I feel like that was an opportunity for whoever has the powers to deal with it, if we need to be both disciplined, and so be it. If whatever needs to be done to solve a problem, I feel like everyone overlooked that teachable moment for everyone in the room to say, here's a new mother, and here is a lady who does not understand the concept of pumping at work and so on. So the fight erupted after that. Let me know as well if you want to hear about that. I feel like that's a juicy story on its own, and I'll take the whole day sitting here if I'm ever to go into it. But there was a bit of a push and pull over there, bullying by the boss's sister. No one did anything, including the boss, including the manager. No one did anything. It was just a sit down where I was made to apologize because I'm young and she's old. But I felt failed more than anything by everyone in the room to say, but at what point do we teach people how to take accountability if we're still to this day going to say apologize because wana kwena and this is an older person? The minute we walked through the door of that company, we are professionals, we are colleagues, we're employees. Our age has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, that was that, and that situation went past. But I felt like every new thing that happened at work, every new inconvenience that popped up was a reminder to me to say this environment is actually not for you. But again,
sometimes we choose to see pink, sometimes we see orange.
But when a red flag is just here, red flagging, we choose to ignore. We decide, oh no, I'm gonna be patient, I'm gonna stick it out, I'm loyal, and it happens at work, it happens in relationships, it happens in families, it happens everywhere. It's just up to you and how you basically what you take from a situation. So that year ended and the next year came, which would be 2021, right? 2021 was a good financial year, I'd say, for the company, because the whole entire year we didn't deal with the dry spells that we were now used to. So 2021 came and went really swiftly. Then 2022 started and I was really hopeful, starting this new year. You feel like, okay, now's the time where I'm in a position to start making certain financial decisions and commitments because things are going well and it looks like we are out of that dry spell. We're out of that space, and we're just in a better space, and you're in a space where, okay, you're able to make certain decisions. January came, January went, February, March, and it's like March, immediately when the sun set on March, hey, there went our finances. March came and it started on a really rocky patch. So our salaries were late, no one said anything, and it's a thing that always got to me. But are you not able to project and see 2 weeks from now I won't have money? And it's only fair to alert your people to say, you know what, our salaries for this month might be affected. We are waiting on a specific client to pay out. As a result, please know, a warning. I feel like it's just the courtesy to let people know. There was none of that. March came and our March salary was paid somewhere mid-April, and of course no one said anything and life went on. April came and our April salary was paid right after mid-May, somewhere around the 14th. But in all of this, we normally fail to consider that we come from different backgrounds and we have different demographics. Like we fall under different demographics. There are people that are married and people who have rich spouses, and there are people who have rich families, and there are people who maybe are working more than 15 jobs at once. Like, we are not all affected by the same thing the same way. That's the point I'm trying to make. So in as much as we may not be paid like on the day we're supposed to get paid, it won't affect us the same. Not saying, no, I have a child and I have responsibilities and I have nowhere else that I'm getting money. I have, it's literally all on me. If it's not me, then you understand. Unlike a person who, firstly, she comes from a rich family and she has a rich spouse, and they have businesses going on. When they're not paid, it's one stream of income that is compromised, but their whole livelihood is not messed with, it's not compromised. So I feel like we're all now measured with the same cup to say, no, if this one can manage, then this one can manage. And that's where the problem started, right? So somewhere around May, right before we got paid, I informed my boss to say, yo, really having financial difficulties. Our salary was way overdue. No one is saying anything about saying, okay guys, work from home, or saying here's petrol money in the meantime while we try to figure this out. You literally have to speak out for yourself. It's literally all on you. Okay, fine, no problem. I informed them that, you know what, my petrol light has been on for a good 2 days, fam, and there's nothing else I can do. I've tried, it's that week where you are now down to your last cent, and because we had been through this for so long, I'm not willing to cash out my savings anymore for them, because at the end of the day, you don't get rewarded for being loyal in a situation where honestly it's not even your fault. I cashed out my savings before, I'd cashed out my investments before, and I realized that I was at a point where, first of all, a company does not have like a provident fund, a retirement annuity, anything like that. Should you be shown the door, you will walk out of the door nje. So I realized that I'm here cashing out things that are supposed to make me feel like I'm working towards something, things that are meant to make me feel like I'm working, and here is what I have to show for it. So with nothing to show for it, what are we doing here, right? So raised that concern, and I was told that you just need to know that it will be no work, no pay. So whatever days you take not coming to work, we won't be paying for those days. And you know what? I was at a point where I was not going to engage further. So when he said that, I wouldn't say I was shocked. I was just disheartened to say, but I'm in this situation because of you, fam. How is that your response? But anyway, we move. So it was a Thursday and a Friday when I was unable to go to work. And over the weekend, over that Saturday, then he paid in our salaries. Monday, I was back at work, and baby boy fetched me. He told me about how I want to put him under pressure to pay me when he doesn't have money.
Boys, why do you have a company if you feel like people needing their monies is you being under pressure?
Why are you making it about me? But in hindsight, I should have paid more attention to that period of time. I should have been aware that was actually him declaring war, saying you are stepping on my toes and you will pay for it. But hey, baby girl, I was like, it's just him being him, thought nothing of it, and life went on, right? Then end of May came. I can't recall when May's salary came, somewhere around June. Somewhere around June. And then June salary, remember now, there's the 2 days where he said there would be no work, no pay, and the May salary came in full. There was no problem there. The problem came with June salary. So June salary was paid in on the 8th of July, I think. Yeah, like around the first week of July. And my money has lost weight. My money, when you're expecting a curvy bear and you get a shrap hasemali. What's going on here? Then because our company does not really have like an HR department or HR specialist or an HR person specifically, the only person you can direct your queries to is the big man himself. So get now, and by that time I'm on site. By the time the money came in, it was during the day. I'm on site, so I queried to say something doesn't make sense. The numbers are not adding. Like, I've had a look and the numbers are not adding up. So if you could just let me know
how this maths became physics.
Why? Then obviously the response was very cold. The response was that I must learn to listen when he speaks to me. He told me that he would not pay for the days I absconded from work. But is it absconsion if I informed you in advance? Because I thought that absconding from work is when you're just the no-show and no one knows where the hell you are, So, but anyway, he says, no, you don't listen when I speak to you. And so I told you that this would be that. And I told you that A, B, C, D would become Z. Okay, sharp. I thanked him for his time and I left it at that. Little did I know that my life is about to be flipped on its head. Little did I know. That was now the 8th of July. Yeah? And then I'm thinking, oh, okay, hi, that's my punishment. My money was, he deducted about 5,000 rand. Like,
5,000 rands for 2 days?
and I'm pretty sure my daily rate is not 2,500 rands. Otherwise, then I should be up there. I should be up there with the birds. No. Okay, no accountability. He's not even saying, okay, let's sit down, let's calculate, let me show you how I got to this figure. No, he's literally saying, you know what, that's it. Take it and don't ask me questions. Hey, man. Baby girl. Pelamo, we are on top of the dogmos. Because this man... And I thought about it on that day. I was really devastated. So I was on site and I was speaking to the lady I was working with there on site. I told her, Pela, this is bad. If he can make such a decision on his own and no one can hold anything against him, it means tomorrow he can literally tell me, you go, I don't want you anymore. And that will be it. Was like I knew. Wait, now wait. Somehow it's like I felt it coming, but I was just in denial. You know, before then I was having dreams of me being hit by a train, being hit by a truck, you know, falling off a cliff. You know, these weirdest dreams. Then, a week later, an email telling me that I am terminated. How?
Terminator.
Was I not shook? That is the end of part 1. I just had to give a bit of context so that we are now sitting together here and you understand where to from here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Thrive Out Loud. Be sure to check back for probably part 2 and 3 of the story to see how it unfolds. And yeah, remember the house rules in here. We like, we comment, we share, subscribe, click on the bell notifications, and tell a friend to tell another friend to bring some popcorn, because why not? Bye.